Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be going over the top 5 supports in Smite 2. So really my objective with this video is to make it shorter than the solo ones. I know a lot of people who are watching this channel who are maybe interested in this probably don't care about this role much and they just kind of need something to play when they're off-world as well as builds and like a little bit of general advice. I'll try to kind of keep it in the spirit of that. If you guys want me to be a bit more in depth for like jungle or a following support video, by all means, let me know. But I really wanted to make sure this again to just be a conceptual thing, really to help you practically with these characters. So number 5 for support is going to be the Morrigan. This is ideally going to be with aspect. You're going to be doing this with this type of a build right here. So we're going War Flag, generally speaking, into Lifebinder, Team Bead, Stampede, Cronus Pen Spirit, Robe Magi's. The idea here is we have shared prots, a little bit of harass and poke. Lifebinder is very strong right now. Cooldown with Cronus Pennant. You want to try to get triple active item on every support you can, or at least a couple of them, to give you more team fight value. And really, the idea, of course, Sunder is always a relic, by the way. Really, the idea with this pick is, as you'll see with all of these supports, is they really emphasize this idea of pressure. The Morrigan is really great at providing pressure in the dual lane. The ranged autos, of course, is a big part of that, but AoE autos as well. With the 2 marking, you can ultimate and turn into anybody you want to on the map. Ideally, you're going to be turning into jungles or solos in the early game because they have really good base stats and generally pretty impactful ultimates, but later on you might change into another support. You might change into your own soul laner or maybe your own jungler, maybe their support. It really just kind of depends on the map state, what characters are like available to you and the farm and the builds that these gods actually have. Remember that if you're playing the Morrigan, you turn into somebody, you have access to their consumables, so their wards, their chalices, if they have a dagger, a pyromancer bomb, literally everything and anything. So the relics, of course, active items, all of that. So there's a lot of finesse and opportunity out of this pick. I think just because she's quite difficult, I do put her at 5th because a lot of these other supports can be as effective, if not a little bit more, and are much, much easier. So she's definitely the hardest kind of support pick of this 5, but still her upsides are just tremendously high. You want to max your 2 and then your 1. You can put some points in the 3 a little bit early because it is a bit weak now with aspect. If you want to actually max 2, then 3, and then 1, you can level your ult whenever you can to lower the cooldown and you should be all set. Generally, again, the laning phase is all just about clearing the wave, harassing the other support or ADC, transforming as often as possible for pressure and for lane fights. And again, you hover duo, you'll be in pretty good shape. You're hard to lock down, obviously, with your aspect, and you're going to do quite well. Number 4 is going to be Scylla. Now, this, of course, is with aspect. If you don't know what Scylla aspect does, it makes her scale off of mana. Her normal abilities, meaning her Sikkim, which is her first ability, and her Crush, her second ability, do still scale off of intelligence, but her ultimate is going to be a 3-shot ultimate scaling off of mana when you are in aspect. And what that allows you to do is build basically a full tank build. And if you hit your ultimates with the aspect, you gain a permanent maximum mana, which of course makes your ults do more damage. So the idea is that you can build a very tanky, practically 0 intelligence build and support, run around poking people, consistently ulting people, and you'll get a ton of mana and therefore get a ton of ult damage and kind of just kill people. You're a very independent support pick. You have a lot of good pressure in the dual lane, but you kind of get to run around and be like a super big rat as the game goes on. It's very powerful. This is the build that I would do for it. You want to max your, this is the build. You want to max your Crush first, aka your 2, and then max your 1, level your ult whenever you can. Put points in your 3 obviously afterwards. And you should be all set. Again, really the big thing with this character is that it's all about kind of getting ult stacks, so you need to make sure that you root to get a free ult there whenever you can. Again, you get your ultimate whenever you're at a maximum mana bar, so you are consistently hitting abilities to gain mana. You don't have a normal mana system on this aspect. You're hitting abilities on gods, on minions, whatever it might be. You gain mana through that, and as a result, when your mana bar is full, you get your ultimate, you hit people, gain a higher threshold cap, and then reset the process and just keep doing that to get stronger and stronger. Uh, as you see with their build, it's a little bit different this game on this character because we have breastplate and Genjis. The big idea with this is that these are cooldown items that facilitate us gaining mana quicker because we're getting more abilities, and therefore we will have our ults up faster. So you're going to get your ults up, assuming you're fighting, and actually like in fights literally every 20 seconds or so. Very, very powerful. Gives you so much harass opportunity. It is a little bit skill shot heavy, so you might need a handful of games to, maybe even 10 to 15 matches to really get pretty good with the stacks. Try to aim for about a stack a minute by about the 20-ish minute mark. If you're, 20-ish stacks at about 20 minutes, you're doing a pretty good job. And obviously carry that onwards to the duration of the game. Really, really good early to mid game character that if she gets to late game can sometimes struggle a little bit, but generally speaking can just kind of like solo carry a game long before that. Number 3 is going to be Eset. Another range support, obviously. Yeah, these are way better than melees across the board. That's just kind of how it is. Build's going to be like somewhat similar to, well, I guess none of the gods yet, but somewhat similar to the characters we'll come up to. Yeah, really simple. You're going aspect on this character. Of course, you want to max your 1 or your 2 or your 3. It literally doesn't matter. You can even alternate level on this god. All of her abilities have like pretty good value cases for leveling them first. But generally, I max like the 1 and maybe put some points in the 2 and then max the 3 last. The 2, when you level it, which is Spirit Ball, you lower the cooldown. That's really nice. If you max the 1, you just get a lot of pressure with Clear. That's obviously very good. You max the 3 or you level the 3, you're going to increase your duration of the debuffs, which is also quite good. So it really is kind of a win-win. No matter what you do on this pick, you have so much utility, built-in healing, a very impactful team ultimate. In general, of course, you're going Sunder on all these supports. I should probably like put that here. Can I edit this? Cool. Let's put Sunder. There we go. Yeah, you're basically just kind of doing what you would do on like a more defensive support. So it's a bit of a pivot away from like the Morrigans or the Scyllas, so I think playing a more kind of harass slash independent play style. Eset, still can do that and does do that to some effect in the laning phase, but you're really making sure to be wanting your teammates to peel them out, spirit balling and disarming people, silencing them with their through, whatever it's called, to uh, basically set them up not only for your team to do damage to them, but also just to keep them from being a threat to whoever your teammates are in the back line. So you're really kind of playing with the back of your team, and if you do that well, you do that consistently, I think you're gonna have a really good look. So yeah, that's ESET. Not too much else to be said. I think I kind of covered most of the bases of her. I'm sure most people realize how good she is. Number 2 is going to be Baron. So Baron over ESET. Why is that? It's pretty simple. Baron generally as a support, I would say for the vast majority of players, and we'll do an honorable mention after this god before we get into number 1, but for the vast majority of players who are being off-rolled into support, and even players who are support mains, they are honestly usually not that great, which is okay, but this character is kind of the most bang for your buck god. He is quite straightforward. This is the build here, of course, Sunder. I'll make sure to put that in here. But he's so much pressure, he's so much damage potential, he's very easy, he's pretty independent in the sense that he kind of has that Scylla-esque poke, but you don't really need to go rogue on the character. You can kind of play in the backline like an Eset does. You go the triple active item to be valuable for your team, but again, you have so much damage, you do go aspect on this character, and you have really good laning phase, really good team fights. The character plays, I think, pretty smoothly and easily. There's kind of a level of uh, necessity to hit your root, which obviously can be a bit of pressure. But if you do hit that, either if the target's already kind of CC'd or slowed or kind of just beelining at you, you sort of chunk half their health even as a support. And that's just good. I mean, there's really no downside to this character. He does very well into virtually, if not quite literally, all of the supports in the game. I think his worst matchup is probably Scylla, but even then, it's not a bad one. So if you're laning into the Sylvanuses of the world, the Artios soon, which is about to come out, any of these kinds of picks, you're going to really excel and just kind of beat them. So, as well as obviously Eset and stuff, like Baron does good into Eset. That's kind of why I put him higher. So this god does really good into the top supports in the game, while also doing what they do. So it's sort of the pseudo counter pick slash independently powerful pick. Very flexible kind of in how you want to play it. More backliney, a little bit more pokey. Both very good and both quite effective. So very, very strong character. In our honorable mention, there's kind of two. Now, I didn't actually make builds. I typed in honorable, holy moly. I didn't actually make builds for these characters. I just wanted to kind of talk about them, but the builds basically go as follows for the previous characters. But the two picks that I wanted to kind of mention were Ares, number one. On this god, you could go like Stampede, obviously go War Flag, but you can go War Flag into like Mushroom or Stampede. Getting Circe's feels really good on this character a lot of games. Going things like Team Beats is very good. Again, try to get the triple active item, get some shared items like Spirit Robe. You'll be pretty happy. You can even go Lifebinder, totally fine. Ares, obviously is a bit weaker due to Team Beats. I think he struggles kind of into these range supports in general. But if you're in a melee v melee matchup, meaning you're into, say, an Athena or a Bacchus or a Cabrakan or a Kepri, something like that, Ares can do a lot of damage, and he's still a very good pick. Little bit more situational, but still a very strong god. Has a ton of upside in the game. The second character that I wanted to mention, and I want to be clear, I think support in general as the most off-role players, there's a lot of people who are pretty uncomfortable. When I give a guideline for meta, I'm talking about like the very best picks, not picks that if you're not playing, you're like messing up. If you're a Ganesha main or an Aphra support main or a Cerberus main and you're playing it well, that's what's good. So like please remember that in general, right? For whatever tier list, top fives, whatever, what you're good at is ultimately what's meta. But aside from Ares for honorable mention, it's going to be Guan Yu. Now for Guan Yu, what you're going to be doing on this character is maxing your one, going Aspect. There's virtually no anti-heal in the game, and your laning phase is a little bit rough. But if you do get this character online, you're going to win the game. It's just that simple. This god's late game is absurd, and if you don't completely bot it up and feed, it's almost a guaranteed win in the support role. How do you build this character in support? I'm showing this because it's a little bit more off the wall than Ares. I'm sure most people kind of get the uh, Ares idea build-wise and like conceptually. But for this character, you can go War Flag or Selflessness, doesn't really matter. And then after that, you're going to kind of just like send it on the defense items. So you can go like, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, I've seen a couple different variations. I'll give you guys one of them. So you can go like Mushroom Rush into Heartward Charm. So you can get double ones. And then you can go like, again, there's a couple of things you can go. I've seen Stampede do pretty well. I've seen Team Beats even here do pretty well. I'm going to go Stampede for this build specifically, and then just like a little bit of cooldown to kind of like make this build all kind of kite well together. You do this with aspects. Again, this guy got base healing increases. He's insanely underplayed right now. If you have an ADC you can queue with and stuff and get this character through the early to mid game, if you're about level 11, 12, even to 15 or 16 and you're not behind, I think most of the time the game is won. It takes a little bit more team coordination and you need to make sure you're healing people and dashing enemies to continuously reset the one cooldowns. But if you do that, the game is won. Just that simple. This pick is completely broken if you are able to scale a little bit. But you do need to scale a bit, and you really struggle against these range supports, so keep that in mind. Anyways, number one pick is going to be Yemoja. I think this one's pretty obvious. This is the best support in the game right now. And really what it comes down to is we know how important pressure is in the game, and she's really good at it. Technically a bit weak into Baron, technically a bit weak into Eset. I think she's obviously a harder character than all the gods we mentioned in this list, aside from the Morrigan. But her overall support value is just so high. Having the arcing healings, having the ultimate that's effectively a soloing tool where you can split fights in half, force shells when people want to be building Sunder, obviously in this game. And not to mention the ones, the bubbles, that give so much damage in the early game. You kind of automatically win every duo lane on this character, even into the Esets and Barons, assuming you play it with a little bit of poise. Again, positionally, she can be a little bit punishing, so I don't always recommend her to brand new players. And this is more of a, if you want to actually spend some time getting better at your second role, if that is support, or your main role, if you are a support player, this is absolutely the character to pick up. She's kind of functionally been, at times she's fallen off a tiny bit, but by and large, for the last 6.5, maybe even really since whenever she came out, which I want to say was about season 5 or maybe 6 of Smite 1, she's been the best support in the game. Again, that's kind of waned at times, but by and large, she's always one of the best gods in Smite. So if you invest into learning her, you're going to have a ton of payoffs. So right now and in the future, really, really strong pick. Obviously, max your 1. And then after that, I mean, I've maxed my 3 sometimes, maxed my 2 sometimes. Doesn't really matter. You just walk around wanting people, stack prophetic super easily, have a ton of pressure, and the game is sort of just one. If you guys want maybe a video talking more about support tactics and stuff in general, obviously my solo lane play-by-plays, I do a lot of that. But in duo, like a very quick TLDR is you just stay duo, secure neutrals, farm duo until ritual spawns, go to mid, get the ritual, go back to duo, pitter patter between those two, try to get gold. But if you want like something in depth on that, let me know. But I figured that this would be a pretty simple, easy, semi-detailed support overview. That's what you need to play. These are the gods. Range supports are king. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Obviously, thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll catch all of you in the next one. Peace out.